Hi everybody, this is Brian Kuh with another ROK video. And today what we're going to do is we are going to zoom out a little bit and take a big picture view of the current meta changes that are happening in Rise of Kingdoms. As players and as leaders, it's important to be aware of these shifts so that we can prepare and adjust properly for the way in which this game is going to evolve. Now, the number one big change that's happening is that Lost Kingdom rewards are more juiced up than they ever have been. Now, what do I mean by that? What I specifically mean is that the kingdom that holds the Great Ziggurat at the end of the Lost Kingdom will be given 300 autarch passes to distribute to their own kingdom, as well as a small percentage to other allied kingdoms. Those autarch passes will give you access to a special inscription shop where you can buy one inscription that is far superior to what the rest of the players in the Lost Kingdom will be able to purchase from the normal inscription shop. To put some very simple numbers on this, the best inscription you can buy in the superior shop is the Hunter inscription for the Wedge Formation. This is one of the best inscriptions in the game, and I would conservatively give the value of that inscription at 12% of stats. In comparison, the best inscription in the normal shop is 3.5% of health. So even if we round that health up to 4% of stats, that means that every player in the winning kingdom is going to get an inscription worth 8% more stats than all of their peers in the other kingdoms. That's a huge advantage for the winning kingdom, and it's an advantage that can extrapolate and magnify over time. The KVK winners also get significantly more conquest coins than the losing kingdoms. That's always been the case. But because you need to spend one conquest coin to buy an inscription, it is important for every player in a kingdom, whether they win or lose, to have an ongoing economy of conquest coins coming in so that in every KVK they can buy that inscription. But the only way for a losing kingdom to earn conquest coins is to get either 30 million kills or cut a deal with the winning side for some of those coalition-based rewards around holding sanctuaries or holding circles or ruined crusader fortresses in some KVK formats. The last thing about the KVK rewards, and this has been around for a while, but it's just becoming a bigger deal, I think, is that, you know, those stars, the victory stars that you can get, those have been around now for over a year, and you're seeing some kingdoms now have 3, 4, 5 Lost Kingdom stars, where on the lower side, you see some kingdoms with only 1 star, or in some cases 0 stars. And so it's becoming, I mean, just think how much more difficult it is to recruit quality talent when your alliance only has 1 star and you're competing against A, B, or Imperium Kingdoms that have 3 or 4 stars. How do you ever get that talent away or attract the new talent better than those more successful kingdoms? And that dynamic dovetails into the second category of trends I'm seeing, which is that I think we've reached the ceiling for how big Imperium Kingdoms can get, and we're now getting smaller. We're now moving down from that ceiling. A lot of people are aware of the fact that 1254 has gotten a number of match not found results when they sign up for a KVK. This is because they are a very big kingdom, a very strong kingdom, and I imagine Lilith feels like if they were to go into one of these KVKs, they would imbalance the matchup and, make the experience not that fun for other kingdoms. And I give Lilith a lot of credit for this decision. They're upsetting a lot of their biggest spenders, but they are protecting the integrity of the matchmaking they have put together. Because the reality is, when a kingdom like 1254 goes into a KVK where they are by far the strongest kingdom, they essentially get to dictate who is allied with who. They get to dictate how fair the war is actually going to be. And in the vast majority of cases, they win at the end regardless. So I think it really does hurt the experience of all these other kingdoms who are just, to some extent, at the mercy of these very large, powerful Imperiums. And, the big Imperiums are starting to have some trouble. We have seen 556 and 412 fall apart. We've seen 846 have some problems as a result of being just an absolutely massive kingdom. And we're starting to see some of these kingdoms make decisions about downsizing. 1254 has talked about wanting to reduce down to 3 alliances rather than the current 4 big alliances they have. And we're also seeing Kingdom 1034 bring in 1 other alliance to complement the existing 1V alliance. And in the process, they're probably going to dismantle another large Imperium kingdom, as the rumors are that a group from 1664 is the alliance that's going to join 1V. The final trend that we need to think about is the fact that we really are at a bit of a tipping point in Rise of Kingdoms. The formation system has arrived. People have taken it in. It's the kind of system that really does entice people to spend, but it's also a system where the spenders do have a very significant advantage in the long run over non-spenders. And so I think some people have decided to stop spending on Rise of Kingdoms, and others have decided to just stop playing because they just don't want to continue to play this pay-to-win, endless spending type of game. At the same time as the formation system is coming in, a very similar game, Call of Dragons, has also released. And that game also has the potential of luring some people away from Rise of Kingdoms and going to this new game. So we're at this point where there's an opportunity for new people to step into big roles. There's an opportunity for new alliances and new kingdoms to move up the rankings as some groups stop playing and some key players have some of their focus shift to a new game. I think there's going to be a very big difference in the experience of alliances, where in some cases alliances will have basically no one go to Call of Dragons and everyone's focus will remain on Rise of Kingdoms, compared to other alliances where you might have some key officers start to play Call of Dragons. They might start to dabble in Call of Dragons. And inevitably, some of their time, and more importantly, their mental energy, is going to go into learning all the new mechanics, the new strategies, and the new optimal ways to progress in Rise of Kingdom, in Call of Dragons. And their mental energy will not be devoted to Rise of Kingdoms. And, some people may feel that Rise of Kingdoms is a solved game at this point, and so it's not that important if their focus shifts to something else. But I would point out that there are some pretty big gameplay changes happening right now in ROK. For one thing, the developers clearly are interested in creating new KVK modes with new types of mechanics to change and spice up the existing combat that goes on. Warriors Unbound has artifacts which allow you to, for example, use Flavius as a cavalry commander. It creates different pairs, different meta pairs that are useful in war. And also in Warriors Unbound, you can only put down forts next to holy sites or passes. In the Siege of Orleans KVK mode, there are auxiliary skills, a very long list of auxiliary skills, wherein you can add 3 auxiliary skills to a given march. And so there's a lot of theory crafting that goes on in terms of what are the optimal combo of skills for a rally lead, a garrison lead, and for open field marches. And I think the teams that theory craft those combinations correctly are going to have a very big advantage over the teams that theory craft the auxiliary combinations in a suboptimal way. And you'll be able to figure it out, I think, with rallies and garrisons. You'll be able to look at what works and adjust during the war. But how are you ever going to figure out that you're telling your players to use a suboptimal set of auxiliary skills in the open field? How will a kingdom or a coalition ever be able to figure that out in the middle of a war? I don't see it happening. I think the theory crafting can really give one side a big heads up or a big advantage versus a side that puts less effort into that theory crafting. As well, we're going to see a new type of Ark of Osiris soon. There's going to be a fog of war in Ark of Osiris. You won't be able to see the whole map. You will only be able to see the area around the marches of your team. So Ark of Osiris is going to have more incomplete information and a game format that admittedly is solved at this point. The current Ark of Osiris is basically solved. Teams play very similarly, and at the highest end, it really just comes down to execution and strength in the middle fights as the main determinant of which team wins. So there's going to be a long stretch of time where Ark of Osiris is more of a skill game, more of an unsolved game. And whereas over the past couple years, our kingdom has really not even thought about doing any practice matches, I do think that when the new Ark of Osiris mode comes out, especially if it lines up with a new Osiris League, I can see our kingdom running a few practice matches just because it's going to be important to get a leg up and a deeper understanding of what the best strategies are. The final thing I'll point out about how ROK is going from a solved state to a changing unsolved state is that we are going to have some new archer commanders come out very soon. The speculation is that one might be a garrison commander and one might be an open field commander. That open field commander could also be very good in rallies, considering Boudica is basically an open field commander that also does very good in rallies. And it has often been the case, I think, that new archer commanders are the most impactful troop type in the game. I mean, you think about Edward Tamiris, they were introduced and they became the meta rally in KVK2. You think about the fact that Gilgamesh came out and that was the first viable counter to the Zenobia meta. And when Amonitori came out, there was a time when Amonitori Artemisia was the meta unbeatable garrison. And it took a major power upgrade in the game overall with the introduction of Alexander Nevsky to disrupt that archer dominance. So I think that with archers, I don't think they necessarily are the troop type that changes the meta, but I think they are the troop type that really entrenches the meta or becomes like the strongest part of the meta that is in place. And so I think there's a very good chance that archers are going to require a bit of a rethink about how we engage in war. And I certainly think that Hera is a meta-changing garrison captain whose impact has not really been fully realized yet because we haven't had those really big high-level KVKs where they can demonstrate just how valuable and just how devastating the anti-swarm on Heracles is. So all in all, I think, again, this is just an opportunity in Rise of Kingdoms for new groups to step up. There's going to be the energy you put in at this point in the game is going to really pay off because number one, there's going to be new things to figure out, and number two, there are some groups that are fading away. There are some kingdoms that are needing to reorganize. And this is what the game needs. It needs to constantly move forward. It needs to constantly remain interesting. It needs to keep people on their toes. You have to be flexible. You have to be able to make quick changes as the situation dictates. And these are simply the skills that have always been important to success in this very complicated, very unique game that many of us have been playing for 4 or 5 years and that we hope to play for many more. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please throw a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll be back with more videos soon. Our own Warriors Unbound KVK is about to have more fighting, and we'll be competing for that great ziggurat very soon. I'll have plenty of coverage of that, plenty of live streams. So stay tuned, and I will see you all on the flip side.